Ukraine's Ministry of Defense released a video featuring a rarely seen S-300v1 air defense system, hinting that the long-range Soviet-era missile system may have been responsible for recent shootdowns of Russian Su-series aircraft on May the 11th. In a video, Ukrainian servicemen operating an S-300v1 system stated they have intercepted not only cruise missiles targeting Ukraine's critical infrastructure, but also Russian Su-type jets dropping precision-guided bombs on frontline cities and military positions. The appearance of the S-300v1 in the video is notable, as it marks one of the few times this rare air defense platform has been acknowledged publicly by Ukrainian forces since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. While the video does not specify the exact incidents, it aligns with previous announcements. On August the 14th, 2024 and February the 18th, 2025, Ukraine's Air Force reported shooting down Russian Su-34 fighter bombers, but withheld operational details. Another Su-34 was lost on October the 12th, 2024, during a glide bomb strike, an incident the Russian side has never explained. The S-300v1, introduced into Soviet service in 1983, is a tracked, self-propelled air defense system built on a T-80 chassis. It can detect targets up to 300 kilometers away and engage up to 12 simultaneously. The Ukrainian military has fielded it through its 210th Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment, reconstituted after the initial phase of Russian aggression in 2014. This system is equipped with two missile types: the 9M82, which has a range of up to 100 kilometers and is capable of intercepting ballistic and high-speed aerial targets, and the rarer 9M83, optimized for aerodynamic targets at ranges up to 75 kilometers. Open source footage suggests Ukraine is currently operating the 9M83 variant, an even rarer missile that the more common V555 used in the S-300PT/PS systems. The S-300 family, known in NATO as the SA-10, remains one of the most capable medium-range air defense solutions from the Cold War era, built to counter aircraft, cruise missiles and ballistic threats at altitudes from 25 meters up to 27 kilometers. Earlier reports emerged that Ukraine received at least 8 units of the Raven short-range air defense system from the United Kingdom, with 5 more currently being prepared for delivery. Designed to counter aerial threats such as Shahed-type drones, the system has conducted over 400 launches with a reported success rate of approximately 70%. The Raven system was developed by the UK specifically for Ukraine in 2023 using a Supercat HMT 600 vehicle chassis and AIM M32 ASRAAM air-to-air missiles adapted for surface launches. Donetsk separatist leader and Russian collaborator Pavel Gubarev, who has long been among the Russian military units and is involved in the war against Ukraine, has acknowledged the horrific losses of the Russian army. According to him, more than 1 million soldiers have died during the so-called special operation. Gubarev made a stunning statement on his Telegram channel. He openly admitted that the price of the so-called successes of the Russian army was colossally high. The price of these successes is high. In my estimation, more than 1 million killed servicemen on our side, which looks more like a mass slaughter than tactical, let alone strategic successes. Gubarev, who continues to remain surrounded by Russian military personnel and actively supports the war against Ukraine, knows the internal data and has an idea of the real losses. So his words attract special attention, since even in the pro-Russian environment, recognition of such figures is rare. Previously, Russian propaganda stubbornly denied the scale of losses, limiting itself to statements about minor losses during the so-called SVO. However, as the situation at the front worsens and public discontent grows, even supporters of the war are beginning to acknowledge the real figures. Gubarev, criticizing Russia's successes in Ukraine, actually admits the failure of Moscow's strategic plans. According to him, the capture of Mariupol, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and other populated areas resulted not in a military victory, but in catastrophic losses among Russian soldiers. The price of these successes is high. This looks more like a mass slaughter than a tactical or strategic success. He emphasized effectively admitting the failure of the Kremlin's plans for a rapid occupation of Ukraine. Gubarev stated that the RF armed forces cannot fulfill the goals of the SVO to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. Thus, even among supporters of the Russian world, doubts are growing about the effectiveness of Russia's military strategy. The loss of hundreds of thousands of soldiers without significant strategic successes undermines the morale of even the most fanatical supporters of the war. Gubarev emphasizes freezing the conflict does not bode well for Russia. The Russian armed forces have failed to achieve their goals of demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine in 4 years. The reason, in his opinion, is not objective military factors, but internal sabotage and the system's inability to mobilize the economy and society. The return from the front of tens of thousands of armed veterans accustomed to solving problems by force. These people, accustomed to high military salaries, will face poverty and injustice in civilian life. This will create a threat of increased crime and internal violence. If the system of power does not change, freezing the conflict at the current level of political and social tension will lead to military defeat and the collapse of Russia. Gubarev directly states that under current conditions, the implementation of the Western plan for decolonization of Russia is becoming increasingly likely.